Hey y'all, it is Hannah Slater here, your host of Girl Chat, and welcome to another episode of Girl Chat. On today's episode, we're going to talk about what it's like to be an entrepreneur, especially a young entrepreneur, and what it's like to be an entrepreneur in a tourist town. What inspired me for this video was my small business, Silver Star Market, was just awarded Small Business of the Year for our Hayward community. And that is such an incredible honor, and I'm so thankful for that, and I do not take that lightly. To be honest, I'm surprised I could get through saying that without getting teary-eyed. I'm really honored for that award and really grateful that Silver Star was awarded Small Business of the Year. So let's get into it. I have been a business owner for a little over 2 years now, and so I kind of have some experience, not a lot. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, so this, an entrepreneurial spirit has been part of me since I was so young. I witnessed my mom and dad run successful companies as well. So I learned from them a lot, and I still get to learn from them, and they are vital people in my life who obviously support me, but are also willing to answer all the questions that I have and help guide me on those decisions to become successful as well. But first and foremost, I love being an entrepreneur. It is who I am to the core. It is Silver Star Market is everything that I am. I really love being an entrepreneur. I think it's really incredible, and I think it's something that I'm really, really proud of. It is hard. It comes with a lot of challenges. It comes with a lot of decisions, and it comes with obviously a lot of risk. Being an entrepreneur is more obviously than just an 8 to 5. I work a lot. I'm always working, but I also love what I do. So I really enjoy all parts of what I do, whether it's making flower arrangements, sourcing for new items, flipping the store, pricing. I love everything that I do for Silver Star, so it never feels like, I always say I'm so lucky because it doesn't feel like I'm at work. Like, I truly love what I do. And you really have to just keep going as an entrepreneur. I think one of the things that I learned was no matter what, you're not going to make everybody happy. And that can obviously be kind of challenging, right? The goal is to make everybody happy. But realistically, you can't make everybody happy. And if you guys know me, you know my style is all across the board. From glitz and glam to cowgirl to anything in between. I like switching up my style, and I like being different. And that's what Silver Star is. We have a lot of different clothing items and brands that you can't necessarily always find in Hayward, and I love that part about Silver Star. But especially in the beginning, like before people started to realize that my style is a little bit out there would be times where people would come in, and there still are times, I just don't take it to heart as much now, where people are like, who could wear that thing? Or that is absolutely hideous. Or could you imagine somebody wearing that? And like 9 times out of 10, I was wearing that at the store that day. So it was really hard to overcome that, and just to know that although it's my style and I love it, it might not be somebody else's. But what's so special about Silver Star is because my style is all over the board. We get to have so many different pieces, from staple pieces to everyday pieces to going out pieces to sequins pants to sequins jackets. We get to have a little bit of everything, where I truly think that we are a one-stop shop and we have something for everything. Obviously, there's lots of risk being an entrepreneur. Starting your own business is risky, and that risk never goes away. There's always so much uncertainty, especially in a tourist town. You just don't know what's going to happen, especially in the winter. We're really weather dependent on, if we get a lot of snow, well, that means ice fishing, the lakes are open, snowmobile trails are open. There's just a lot more to do when we get a lot of snow, like our first year. But if it's like last year and we didn't have a lot of snow, well, nothing, the trails weren't open, you couldn't really go ice fishing unless you were just like really risky and you wanted to go. So it's really scary in the winter seasons and what that brings. But we're also really grateful where we get to have our Christmas store flips. It's always so magical and so fun. So we also get to bring people in that way where we elevate the Christmas experience, I think. But that also brings in risk because, you know, you are ordering high volumes of items, obviously hoping you're going to sell them, but not really knowing what the holiday season or what the winter is going to bring. So there's a lot of risk. And I think that the risk can be really fun sometimes, but sometimes the risk is really scary. And sometimes I'm like, oh my goodness, like, what did I just do? Did I just put the company in jeopardy, or is this going to be super successful? One of the risks that we just took, I would say, is my head table. When you walk in for Christmas, it is pink and purple glitz and glam. And I said, people are either going to love this or they are going to hate it because it's not traditional. But what I never want to do is to I never want to be what everybody else is on Hayward. I really pride myself on being something different. We just have different items and we keep that to who we are. And I am not a traditional girly. Obviously, you can check out my wallpaper. I love pink, right? So that's obviously how my Christmases are at home in my house. I've got 2 very pink trees. So I just wanted to be different, and that was a risk. And so far, there's been a lot of really awesome comments, so that risk was definitely worth it. Kind of going along with risk, being an entrepreneur is very unpredictable. There are a lot of wins and a lot of loses, and especially in like personal lives and our daily lives, people often see the wins significantly more than they see the losses because it's scary being vulnerable and it's scary showing that we lost at something or we did not achieve something. And there are a lot of things where maybe last year our Muskie Fest was absolutely incredible and like we sold out of, let's say, a t-shirt product that we had that people really loved. Maybe let's say we're going to order it again for Muskie Fest, but this year they didn't go over. Now that's something that you can't predict. We think we can predict it, but it doesn't always go that way. Or, you know, sometimes we can try to predict, like last year Christmas season, I'm not sure how many flowers we sold, but let's just say it was 200. We can predict, well, hopefully our sales are more, but we don't know because we don't know the travel flow. We don't know what the weather is going to be like. So there's lots of things that are unpredictable being a business owner, and that goes along with risk as well. One of my favorite aspects of being an entrepreneur is the creative process of everything. That is obviously a massive part of my job. I do all of our marketing. I do all of our fashion fix. I do all of our social media. I do, my mom and I and my aunt do all of our flower arrangements, and my mom and I do all of our store flips. So our design, layout, all of that. So thankfully, I get to be extremely creative, which I love. I used to dance. I danced for 22 years of my life, so I was always really, really creative. And I love that I get to be creative still in my everyday life, just in a different way where I'm not moving my body to express myself and to make art. I am doing it on what I put out in the store and how I put floral arrangements together. And I think that's really, really fun. And the creative freedom that I get to have is something I'm so grateful for. Okay, now let's talk about some of the maybe necessarily not the like greatest fun things that come along with being an entrepreneur. Which one I kind of already mentioned is you can't please everybody. So there are some people who absolutely love SSM and there's some people who just don't like SSM. Let's talk about a topic that maybe, actually I know that a lot of people don't agree with, but for us it works the best. We are a no return policy, no exchanges, no refunds. We just don't do it. Quite honestly, we turn over inventory way too quickly to offer exchanges or to switch out sizes or anything like that. I hardly ever reorder the same product twice just because I like having that diversity and I like being different, and I really like the fact that we aren't stale. I try to stay away from that as much as possible. And we've been like that since we opened our doors. We've always been a no return policy. I have taken a lot of heat from this. Our first year, there was a lot of very opinionated, passionate people about our return policy. And ultimately, I hear you, I get what you're saying, and I respect what you're saying, and I respect your input. But this was what works best for us. Again, we turn over inventory so quickly, and I'm so blessed for that. This is just what works for us. But with having a decision that works for us, there comes a lot of negativity with that. And that is something that I've just learned to take with a grain of salt, because we all have opinions. We all express our opinions. And ultimately, this is what works best for SSM. There are also sometimes being an entrepreneur, and maybe it's because I'm young, maybe it's because I'm a woman entrepreneur, or a women entrepreneur. I don't know. There comes, before people started to get to know me as well, and sometimes still now with our tourists, there are people who like just cannot believe that I'm an entrepreneur and that SSM is my store. There's a lot of people, like when we first opened, there's a lot of people, like if I was dealing with things that I had to get ordered in order to open SSM, there's a lot of times where if I asked a question, it wouldn't get answered. Or if we were in a conversation, a meeting, there wouldn't be eye contact made with me. And it's just kind of those things that are like, just because I'm young and just because I'm a girl does not make me less qualified for the job. And that is something that I was like, I never really thought of or experienced until I did become an entrepreneur. And now I'm kind of like, you know, recently we were just working on a project, and the person only made, my mom and dad were with me, and the person only made eye contact with my mom and dad and not me, even when I asked a question. And I just felt really disrespected by that, because SSM is, you know, me and my pride and joy. And so there comes a lot of that. And again, I don't know if it's because I'm young. I don't know if it's because I'm a girl. I don't know. But that was something interesting to deal with. For the longest time, I was really embarrassed to be an entrepreneur. And I only started to realize that when I started to reflect on when we did get nominated for Small Business of the Year, and just really reflect on what the last 2 years have been. And then when we were awarded Small Business of the Year, that's when it really sunk into me, when I processed that I was so embarrassed of the fact that I was an entrepreneur for a really long time. And I think these last couple of months, I have really bought in that SSM is everything that I pride myself on. SSM is everything that I love, and I love what I do, and I'm so grateful that I get to do what I do. And that was such a major game changer, is buying into who you are, owning who you are, owning what you do, and being proud of who you are and what you do. And when I started to connect all of those dots, it was a game changer. You know, we went over some of our summer stuff, and my mom and I were just sitting down, and we were just talking, and she said, "What do you think the difference between last summer and this summer is?" And I flat out said, "The way I present myself." And her and my dad were both like, "Yeah, it's because you believe in what you're doing now. You believe in what you're selling now. You believe in SSM's goal and what SSM stands for, because it's who you are." And I was like, "You're absolutely right." Our first summer here, and for a long time, it wasn't even just our first summer here, it was for a really, really long time. I just was embarrassed. I didn't believe in what I was doing. I didn't believe in what I was offering, and I didn't believe in what I was putting out into the world. And then in April, I went through a lot. We will talk about that maybe in a different episode, because there is a lot that happened for me to get to this point. There's a lot of growth that I had to do, and there's a lot of situations that I went through to overcome. And once I went through all that and I reflected to who I was and that I love being an entrepreneur, and that was a game changer. I fell in love with what I do, what I provide, and I believed in that. And that, the believing part was the game changer. And now some of the best compliments I get that I never got before until recently was, "You look like the owner. Is this your store? I can tell by how you're dressed. I can tell by how you carry yourself." Like this one gives me goosebumps, and I'm so honored that people say this. They say, it looks like your store. And I never got that kind of compliments until recently, until when I started to believe in myself and believe into SSM, and that has been such an incredible experience. And the first year is hard, the first 2 years is hard. I went through it being hard on top of so many other personal challenges that just made year 1 and year 2 even harder, way harder than it should have been. And that's a lot to go. That's a lot for one person to handle. That's a lot for one person to mentally, emotionally go through. And being an entrepreneur is worth the risk. And I've probably said it 110 times, but I love being an entrepreneur. I think this is the most incredible job, and I'm so blessed that I get to have flexibility, freedom, creativity, and that I get to make a difference in the world, my community and nationwide, not just, locally. I'm so proud of my team and what we do in our mission. And it's hard, it's risky, but I'm going to take this from my pageant line, my intro. When it's hard, it is worth it. So if you are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, just go for it. I am here for you. If you have any questions that you want answered, I might be able to answer them. Again, I'm relatively new to being an entrepreneur. We're just over 2 years, but I do have the experience of my parents being entrepreneurs almost my whole life. And I have them in my back pocket that I'm so grateful that I get to ask questions whenever. But if you're thinking about it, just do it. It is worth the risk. It is so rewarding, and it's an incredible experience that we get to have. Thanks so much, y'all, and I look forward to our next episode.